when privacy replaced prestige. For years, luxury sold itself through visibility. Private pools overlooking nothing but distance. High walls, guarded gates, and the promise that no one could see you. Privacy was treated as separation, proof that you had risen above the world. This hotel rejected that idea completely. There were no dramatic barriers here, no hidden compounds, no architectural statements declaring exclusion. And yet, guests described feeling more private than anywhere they had ever stayed. To understand why, we have to look at how prestige had reshaped privacy. In most luxury spaces, being unseen became a performance. Privacy was something you paid to display. The more obvious the separation, the more valuable it felt. But that visibility came at a cost. Constant awareness. Guests remained hyper-aware of what they were protected from. Staff presence was calculated. Spaces were monitored. Privacy required enforcement, and enforcement demanded attention. The very act of being hidden became exhausting. This hotel began with a different question. What if privacy didn't require isolation at all? The site was open, almost disarmingly so. Paths crossed naturally. Shared spaces existed without hierarchy. Nothing suggested restriction, but the design held a subtle intelligence. Sight lines never collided. Sound dissolved before traveling. Distances were calibrated, so encounters felt optional, never imposed. Rooms were not sealed away. They were positioned. Angles mattered more than walls. Light was guided carefully. Movement was anticipated, not blocked. Guests could exist fully without being observed. Not because others were kept out, but because attention was never pulled toward them. At first, this felt strange. Guests accustomed to exclusivity searched for the boundary. Where does privacy begin? Where does it end? The hotel did not answer. It allowed them to discover it through experience. Something unexpected happened. Without enforced separation, guests relaxed. They stopped monitoring themselves. They moved naturally. Privacy was no longer something to defend. It became a quiet condition that simply existed. But replacing prestige with privacy carried risk. Without visible markers of status, how would guests understand the value? Without separation, how would importance be communicated? The hotel was stripping away one of luxury's most powerful signals. As the first guest settled in, the team watched closely. What they saw was not confusion. It was relief. And that relief hinted at a deeper shift. One that would soon challenge not just how privacy was designed, but why it had been misunderstood for so long. Relief arrived quietly, without celebration. Guests stopped asking for upgrades. They stopped requesting more distance, more barriers, more protection. The need to be hidden dissolved when nothing threatened to intrude. This exposed a flaw in how prestige-driven privacy had always worked. Traditional luxury made guests constantly aware of what they were excluding. Every gate, every sign, every private corridor reinforced separation. Here, separation was unnecessary because attention itself was managed. The hotel did not hide guests from others. It hid others from the guest awareness. This philosophy extended into daily operations. Staff moved along indirect paths, appearing only when needed. Housekeeping schedules were staggered to avoid overlap. Shared spaces never filled all at once, not through restriction, but through rhythm. Privacy was orchestrated through timing rather than control. The conflict emerged as the hotel gained recognition. Advisors urged the team to formalize exclusivity. VIP zones, members-only areas, subtle signals to reassure high-status guests that they were special. Each suggestion carried commercial logic and philosophical danger. The team refused. They believed the moment privacy became visible, it would turn back into prestige. And prestige, by nature, demands comparison. Comparison would fracture the calm the hotel had achieved. Some guests tested the boundaries. Accustomed to dominance through access, they pushed for exceptions, private dining areas, restricted paths, personalized separations. Each request was met with the same gentle response. Privacy was already provided. Nothing additional was necessary. For some, this was frustrating. For others, it was liberating, without special treatment. Guests began relating to the space instead of their status within it. Privacy became internal rather than territorial. They withdrew when they wished. They emerged when they felt ready. Nothing forced interaction, and nothing forbade it. The emotional shift was profound. Guests stopped performing importance. They read. They walked. They sat without scanning who might be watching. The absence of prestige cues removed the subtle tension of being seen correctly. Yet this raised a deeper challenge. If privacy no longer needed walls or status, then what exactly had luxury been selling all along? And could a hotel survive financially by offering something so quiet, so invisible, that it could not be flaunted or photographed? The answer would reveal itself not in marketing metrics, but in how guests behaved once no one was watching at all. What emerged was behavior rarely seen in luxury spaces. Guests lingered without agenda. They occupied shared areas without claiming them. They moved to the hotel without the subtle vigilance that usually accompanies wealth. Without prestige to perform, attention turned inward. This created an unexpected tension. Some guests, especially those accustomed to recognition, felt momentarily diminished. Without visible hierarchy, they struggled to locate themselves within the social landscape. The hotel offered no validation, no cues to reassert importance. For a few, this absence felt unsettling, but for many it felt like release. Without needing to manage perception, privacy became effortless. Guests stopped timing movements to avoid others. They stopped monitoring who might overhear. Conversations softened. Even solitude felt different, not guarded but chosen. The emotional buildup revealed itself through contrast. Guests would leave the property briefly and immediately feel the old tension return. Eyes, noise, signals. Then they would come back, cross the threshold, and feel the quiet reassert itself without explanation. The hotel did not isolate them from the world. It recalibrated their relationship to it. Critics struggled to articulate the value. How could something so intangible justify its reputation? There were no dramatic features to describe, no exclusivity to photograph. Privacy, once detached from prestige, became invisible, and invisibility made it difficult to sell. The team accepted this as a cost of integrity. They refused to name the experience, to brand it, to package it as a concept. Any attempt to define privacy too clearly would turn it back into an object of desire, something to be compared and consumed. As time passed, a pattern emerged. Guests who returned did so not for isolation, but for clarity. They spoke less about privacy and more about ease, about the strange comfort of not needing to withdraw in order to feel alone, about being surrounded by others without being observed. This was the emotional peak. The hotel had replaced prestige with privacy so completely that guests no longer noticed privacy at all. It had become background, like good air or steady light, essential, unnoticed, deeply missed once gone. But this success carried a final risk. If privacy worked best when it was invisible, how could the hotel protect it as attention continued to grow? Protection came through limitation, not expansion. As interest intensified, the hotel resisted growth that would force privacy to announce itself. Capacity remained capped. Layout stayed unchanged. No new zones were added to segregate or impress. Privacy would remain ambient, not architectural. This restraint defined the true climax of the story. By refusing to monetize exclusivity, the hotel preserved a condition that made it valuable. Guests were never reminded of what they had access to, because nothing was withheld. The experience remained whole, not stratified. Over time, the influence of this philosophy spread quietly. Architects began reconsidering how attention, not walls, defined privacy. Designers questioned whether separation had always been a misunderstanding. Even urban planners took note, exploring how invisibility could create comfort without exclusion. The hotel did not market privacy. It protected it. Guests left with an unfamiliar feeling, not the satisfaction of having escaped others, but the ease of having never been watched. Privacy had not been something they entered or exited. It had been something they inhabited. And that is a resolution of when privacy replaced prestige. In a world where luxury often amplifies visibility, this place proved that true privacy emerges not from distance, but from design that dissolves attention altogether. Sometimes the greatest luxury is not being hidden, It is being unnoticed,